Hi, welcome to English Composition. I'm Michael Cheng, and in today's lesson we are working on Unit 10, which is using adverb clauses, and so we're going to learn how to write sentences that use adverb clauses. But before we start the lesson, let me introduce Cher Chen to you today.
各位同学大家好，欢迎来到今天的英文作文课程。我们今天要讲解的是第10讲哦。我们今天的主题是关于使用副词子句哦。
All right. So as I said earlier, we're going to spend some time focusing on grammar in this lesson. But before we start that, Cher and I are going to take a little coffee break.
好，在我们开始讲这个文法之前呢，我们先喝杯咖啡休息一下。
So how's your coffee, Cher?
Delicious and refreshing. How about yours?
It's actually very terrible.
真是奇怪哦，我觉得咖啡蛮好喝的啊，可是 Michael 老师觉得同样的这个咖啡哦，他觉得很难喝哦。那让我们来看看到底是怎么样，是发生什么样的事情。不过呢，首先呢，我们先来针对这个状况来写下一个句子。Michael is drinking coffee. So, Michael, you think the coffee is terrible?
Yes, I think it tastes really bad.
Do you actually like coffee?
Actually, no, I don't like coffee at all.
OK， 好，真奇怪哦，郑老师其实根本不喜欢咖啡哦。那我们可以写下下面这个句子呢，来表达这个状况。我们可以写说 ，Michael is drinking coffee, even though he doesn't like coffee at all。好，这个句子呢，显示出一个相反的讯息哦。那接下来再让我问问看他其他的问题。OK，so why are you drinking coffee if you don't like it?
Well, I'm drinking coffee because I'm actually very sleepy.
OK， 好，那原来如此，我们就知道原因是因为老师他觉得很爱困哦。那接下来我们把这个句子写下来。Michael is drinking coffee because he is very sleepy。好，这个句子呢，已经表明了郑老师他想喝咖啡的原因哦。那接下来让我们来看看为什么他会觉得想睡觉。So, why are you so sleepy?
Well, I had to work very late last night, and then I had to get up very early this morning, so I didn't get very much sleep.
So, you only drink coffee if you didn't get enough sleep?
Yes, and also, if I also don't drink coffee unless I have to stay up very late at night or I have to stay up all night and work.
好，那我们刚刚借由问题呢，我们已经知道郑老师会喝咖啡是在什么样的情况之下哦。那我们现在把这个状况写下来。Michael drinks coffee if he doesn't get enough sleep. Michael doesn't drink coffee unless he has to stay up all night.
So, Cher, do you like the coffee?
Yes, I like coffee, and I like how it helps me feel alert.
So, when do you drink coffee?
好，那郑老师问我说，什么时候会喝咖啡哦？那现在让我把我的答案写下来。Cher drinks coffee after she gets up in the morning. Cher 通常会在早上起床之后喝咖啡哦。那另外一个状况呢是 Cher drinks coffee whenever she feels tired. 哦，那她会喝咖啡的另外一个情况呢是当她觉得累的时候，她就会喝咖啡。
All right, now all these sentences that Cher wrote at the beginning of our program contain adverb clauses. And so let's learn more about adverb clauses in our grammar focus.
好，那刚刚我所写的句子呢，都包含了副词子句。现在让我们来看一下文法重点哦，学习更多关于副词子句的使用方式。
All right, now let's review the sentences that Cher wrote during our coffee break.
好，我们现在来看一下我刚刚写的句子哦。
Our first sentence is, Michael is drinking coffee even though he doesn't like coffee at all.
第一个句子 ，Michael 即使他不喜欢喝咖啡，他还是在喝咖啡。
Two, Michael is drinking coffee because he's very sleepy.
Michael 喝咖啡的原因是因为他觉得很爱困。
Michael drinks coffee if he doesn't get enough sleep.
Michael 喜欢喝咖啡，当他没有足够的睡眠的时候。
Michael doesn't drink coffee unless he has to stay up all night.
除非 Michael 需要熬夜，不然他不会喝咖啡。
Cher drinks coffee after she gets up in the morning.
Cher 早上起床之后就会喝咖啡。
Cher drinks coffee whenever she feels tired.
当雪儿觉得疲倦的时候，他就会喝咖啡。
And so we can see that all of these sentences begin with a basic sentence about drinking coffee, such as what we see here. Michael's drinking coffee, Michael drinks coffee, Michael doesn't drink coffee, and Cher drinks coffee.
好，我们会发现呢，刚刚列出来的这些句子都是由几个基本的句子变化而来的，那就是这些基本句子就像现在荧幕上所显示的这4个句子。
Right, so these sentences are almost the same. So we can say that the activity of drinking coffee is the key idea that we want to express.
好，这些句子呢几乎上意思是一样的，所以我们知道喝咖啡这件事情是我们想要表达的主要的想法。
And so drinking coffee is a simple idea, but when we communicate, we often have more complex ideas that we want to communicate.
喝咖啡呢是一个简单的一个想法哦，但是当我们在交谈的时候呢，我们通常会有更复杂的一些想法想要表达。
Right, and so there are many ideas that we want to add to the idea of drinking coffee, and so in order to have a deeper understanding of the event, we can ask some questions.
好，我们还会呢在对话中加入很多的事情哦，来对这件事情有比较深入的了解，所以我们会提出一些问题。Okay, so why are you drinking coffee?
Because I'm very sleepy. All right, so if we take these two ideas and write them next to each other, we can guess that they have a connection.
好，如果我们把这2个想法写成句子那我们可以猜到这2个句子之间是有关联的。
All right, so we have 2 sentences. Michael is drinking coffee. Michael is very sleepy. So if we want to connect these, if we want to make this connection much tighter, we can combine these 2 sentences together into one sentence.
好，那我们可以写出2个句子那如果我们想把这2个句子连接成一个句子让它的关联性更加的紧密的话，我们会得到下面这个句子。
All right, and so this new sentence shows that he is sleepy is the reason why I'm drinking coffee.
好，那下面这个句子显示出来呢 ，He is very sleepy 这是他很爱困是他为什么要喝咖啡的原因呢？
And so you can see that what we've done is we've taken 2 sentences that have just a vague connection and we've combined them together to clearly show that there's a strong connection between the 2 sentences.
好，那我们所做的事情呢，就是把2个有着模糊的相关性的句子把它连接在一起，使它们的关联性更加的强烈。
And so we've combined these 2 sentences together through a process that we call subordination.
把这2个句子连接在一起的过程呢，就叫做从属连接。
And so the little phrase sub, S-U-B, this means below, and so subordination means that we take 2 sentences and we make the less important idea go below the more important idea.
好，在 subordination 这个字里面呢，我们看到 S-U-B 开头的字代表的是在某一件东西的下面。所以 subordination 从属连接这个字呢，代表着我们把比较不重要的想法放在比较重要的想法的下面。
All right, so let's take a look at our sentences again. So this idea of subordination means we have 2 phrases here. Michael's drinking coffee and Michael is very sleepy. So in our minds, we can decide that Michael is drinking coffee is a key information and Michael is very sleepy is additional information to this topic.
好，在这2个句子里面呢，我们会发现Michael is drinking coffee 是最主要的一个想法，那 Michael is very sleepy 是附加的一些资讯。
Right, and so since Michael is very sleepy, it's not as important. It's subordinated or it's put below the main idea.
好，那既然我们说 Michael is very sleepy 这个句子是属于重要性比较低的，那我们就把它放在 Michael is drinking coffee 的后面。
Right, and so what we do is, in order to take this idea in our minds that Michael is very sleepy is not as important, we write a sentence that contains an adverb clause.
好，为了我们要把这个想法诉诸于文字我们可以写出一个含有副词子句的句子。
All right, and so now an adverb clause is formed by connecting 2 sentences together with a subordinating conjunction.
好，2个句子呢是借由从属连接词来连接，就可以形成所谓的副词子句了。
And we can see some examples of common subordinating conjunctions on page 117 of your textbook.
好，在课本的第117页的地方，你就可以看到一些常用的从属连接词。
Right, and we can see from this chart that we can use subordinating conjunctions to emphasize different kinds of connections between 2 sentences.
好，我们可以看到哦，这些表格里面的这些从属连接词呢，可以借由它呢来强调两个句子之间不同的关联性。
And so you see here we have a time column, so a bunch of words that connect with a time meaning.
好，我们会看到哦，第一栏的这个黄色栏的这个地方呢，它是表达时间哦，这些连接词都是用来表达时间上的从属关系。
We can also connect sentences together to show that there's some kind of reason between these two.
好，我们也可以借由表示理由、表示原因的连接词来表达两个句子间的关系。
Right? We can show that there's a contrast between two sentences.
我们也可以表现出两个句子之间有表现对比的感觉。
And finally, if we use the word if or unless, we can show that there's some kind of condition that's being set between these two sentences.
好，那我们也可以使用 if 或是 unless 这两个字来表达这两个句子之间，如果有一个是另外一个句子的一个状况的话，我们可以用这两个字。
Right, so let's take a look at a couple example sentences now.
好，我们先来看看几个例句。
So we have a sentence, Cher drinks coffee after she gets up in the morning. You can see here that we're connecting these two sentences together with after. This is a word from the time column.
好，我们看到这个例句讲到说 Cher 在她早上起床之后会喝咖啡。这个地方我们使用了 after 这个连接词那我们发现这个副词就是属于时间的这个关联性。
Right, here's another sentence. Cher drinks coffee whenever she feels tired. Again, you can see that there's a time connection between these two sentences.
好，我们再看到下一个句子，说到当 Cher 觉得疲倦的时候，他会喝咖啡在这个句子里面 ，whenever 就是这里的用的一个副词那我们说 whenever 也是代表时间的一个关联性的一个副词。
All right, let's take a little bit of a break now, and when we come back, we'll have learned more about writing.
好，我们先休息一下，等一下回来我们再继续。
Okay, let's learn how to write some sentences that use subordination.
好，现在让我们来学习一下如何使用从属连接词来写出句子。
Right, let's start with these two sentences that you see now. Cher drinks coffee and she feels tired.
好，让我们从这两个句子开始Cher 喝咖啡她觉得累。
Right, so Cher drinks coffee is our key idea. So we're going to add a subordinating conjunction to she feels tired.
好，那在这个句子里面呢，我们选择使用 Cher drinks coffee 来当我们的主要的想法。那所以我们要在这个 she feels tired 的前面呢，我们加上一个从属的连接词。
So now our subordinating conjunction is going to come from the time column because we want to show that there's a time connection between these two sentences.
好，那我们选择的从属连接词呢，应该要从表示时间的这个栏位之中来选出来因为我们想要表现出这两个句子的时间上的关系。
And so let's pick out the word whenever to use.
好，我们选择 whenever 这个字来使用它。
And so we're going to put whenever before the sentence she feels tired.
好，我们把 whenever 放在 she feels tired 的前面。
And so now whenever she feels tired, this is what we call an adverb clause.
好，那你会发现呢 whenever she feels tired 这就是我们所谓的副词子句。
Now, adverb clauses cannot stand alone as a complete sentence, so they always have to be connected to a different complete sentence.
好，我们知道呢，副词子句是不能当做独立的完整的句子的，它必须要和其他的完整句子连接在一起。
And so now in our example, we are going to connect our adverb clause to the main clause of our sentence.
好，那在我们刚刚的例子里面呢，我们就把这个副词子句连接到主要子句里面。
And so now we have a new sentence that combines two short sentences together, and it also shows a clear connection between our original sentences.
好，那我们就因此而得到一个新的句子是由两个短的句子组合而成的。而这个新的句子呢，也可以表现出原本句子之间的关联性。
Now also notice the punctuation in this sentence. There's no comma in the sentence.
好，也请注意到在这个句子里面呢，我们的标点符号在句子中并没有使用逗号。
However, if we use a contrast subordinating conjunction, we need to add the comma to our sentence.
然而，如果我们使用的是表示对比的从属连接词的话呢，我们就会需要在句子中加上一个逗号。
All right, so let's take a look at this sentence. Michael is drinking coffee even though he doesn't like coffee at all.
Michael 喝咖啡，即使他并不喜欢咖啡。
And so we can see in this sentence that we have a contrast word, even though, and so we need to have a comma separating the first part of the sentence and the second part.
好，那在这个句子里面呢，我们使用 even though 这个从属连接词。那这从属连接词是代表对比的从属连接词哦，因此我们在它的前面呢加上一个逗号，来区隔第一个句子跟第二个句子。
Now, another thing that we can learn is that we can change the order of the two clauses in this kind of sentence.
好，除此之外呢，我们也知道可以把主要子句跟另外一个子句的顺序来做对调。
And so far, all our sentences have had the main clause first and the adverb clause second, but we can actually switch these around.
好，到目前为止，我们看到的句子都是先列出主要子句，再列出从属的子句。那事实上，我们是可以调换这两个句子的顺序的。
All right, so now let's move the adverb clause to the beginning of a sentence.
好，那我们来试试看呢，把这个副词子句移到句首。
Right, and we have this sentence here. Cher drinks coffee whenever she feels tired. Now we're going to move whenever she feels tired. Then we're going to move the adverb clause before the main clause.
好，我们现在把这两个句子的顺序做个对调。我们把后面的副词子句 whenever she feels tired 移到句首。
And so notice here that when the adverb clause appears before the main clause, you need to use a comma to separate the adverb clause from the main clause.
请注意到呢，当副词子句放在主要子句的前面的时候，必须要使用逗点来把副词子句跟主要子句区隔开。
All right, so both of these sentences mean the same thing. However, our first sentence puts more emphasis on the action of drinking coffee, while the second sentence puts more emphasis on the time, that whenever she feels tired.
好，尽管这两个句子表示的意思都是相同的事情，但是呢，在第一个句子的时候，我们是把重点放在喝咖啡这件事情上；那第二个句子，我们则是把重点放在时间表示每当他疲倦、他想的时候这才是这个句子的重点。
All right, we're going to work on our writing activity together now.
好，我们现在一起来看看写作练习。
Okay, turn to page 120 in your textbook. We're going to work on the writing activity.
好，请看到课本第120页，我们现在要来做这个地方的练习。
All right, our first sentence begins, after I get to work. So we need to think of some actions that we can do as soon as we get to work.
好，我们看到第一个句子after I get to work 那我们接下来是要想出一些我们一到公司就会想要做的事情。
All right, so here are some possible actions. So if I get to work early, what I like to do is read the newspaper. So I could write a sentence that says, after I get to work, I read the newspaper.
好，那郑老师他想到呢，他去公司的话，第一件他如果比较早到的话，他第一件想做的事情呢就是看报纸。那所以我们可以写下一个句子是，当我到公司之后我会看报纸。
Okay, and so another thing that we could do is, if Cher gets to work, what do you do?
I will make myself a cup of coffee.
So then we could have this sentence after, or you can say that.
Or I would say, after I get to work, I make up a cup of coffee.
Okay, and then another thing we might say is, after I get to work, I read my email.
好，那刚刚郑老师问我说，如果我到公司之后会想做什么呢？那我第一件事会为自己泡一杯咖啡那郑老师所以我们写了一个句子说 ，After I get to work, I make a cup of coffee. 那郑老师也提到说，他到公司之后呢，他会做的事情就是 check 他的 email， 看他电子信箱。所以我们也写了一个句子是 After I get to work, I read my email.
Okay, so now we've seen some examples of how to finish these sentences, and what we're going to do now is take a little break.
好，那我们已经看过了要如何完成句子那我们现在先休息一下，我们待会儿再回来。
Right, we're going to start by writing a little paragraph together.
好，我们现在呢，我们一起来写一个简短的段落。
And before we do that, though, we're going to watch this little video about a conversation that we have with someone about her experience after graduating from school.
好，首先呢，我们先要来看一段短片这段短片呢是关于我们和一个人谈论他毕业之后到现在的一些生活上的经验谈。
对啊，我嘛真想要转啊。好啦，阮后盖再讲好无 ？OK， 你保重哦，拜拜。
Hey, Sherry, are you okay? You look so sad.
Well, I just talked to my best friend. I missed her a lot, but I don't get to see her very often.
Why not? Doesn't she live in Taipei?
No, I'm from Taiwan, and all my closest friends are still down there.
Why did you move to Taipei?
I moved to Taipei after I graduated because it is so much easier to find a good job here.
Well, you have a good job now.
But I'm still not happy. I wish I had stayed in Tainan.
So what are you going to do?
Well, I'm thinking of moving back to Tainan.
How about work? You'd better find a good job before you move back.
You're right. I'll start looking for a new job. If I find one, I'll move back.
Well, good luck. I hope everything works out for you.
Thanks.
All right, now to write our model paragraph, the first thing that we want to do is establish the main point of the interview.
好，为了要写出我们接下来的范例的一个段落呢，我们首先必须要先建立这一段访谈的一个重点哦。
And so the person was not happy in Taipei and thought it was a mistake to get a job there.
好，我们发现呢，这个访谈中这位人物呢，他觉得他在台北并不开心，而且他觉得在台北找工作是一个错误哦。
And so if we want to write a topic sentence for our paragraph about this situation, we can write a sentence like this one.
好，如果我们想要为这个访谈的段落呢写下一个主题句，我们可以写下这样子的一个句子。
I think it was a mistake for me to move to Taipei.
我觉得我搬来台北真是个错误。
Right, now the next thing that we need to do is establish what our conclusion will be. So let's try to emphasize where the person will be happy.
好，那接下来呢，我们要做的事情是建立这个段落的一个结论呢。那我们来试着去强调说，在哪里才能够让这个人觉得开心呢？
And so for our draft, we can write a sentence like this one. I'm sure I will be much happier in Tainan.
好，我们可以写下一个草稿句哦。那这句子是说我确定我会在台南的话，我会更开心。
Right, so our next step is to write the support sentences that we need to complete the body of our paragraph.
好，下一步呢，我们是会写下一些用来完成这个段落的支持论点。
And so let's take a look at some pictures to review what was discussed in the conversation.
好，我们来看一些图片呢，看看我们刚刚在影片中讲到了些什么。
All right, let's take a look at our first picture. And in this picture, we see a diploma.
好，在这个图片里面，我们看到的是一张毕业证书啊。
And so we write a sentence about this. We might write, I graduated from school.
好，那根据这张图片，我们要写下一个句子的话呢，我们可能会写下说我从学校毕业了。
All right, let's take a look at another picture now. And we see an arrow going from the southern part of Taiwan, from Tainan to Taipei.
好，我们在第二张图片这里，我们看到从台南这个部分出现一个箭头到台北。
And so if we make a sentence about this picture, we can have something like, I moved to Taipei.
好，那根据这个图片呢，我们可以写下一个句子，说我搬到了台北。
Right, so now if we want to connect these two sentences together, we could make one sentence that uses an adverb clause that's related to time.
好，如果我们想把这两个句子连接在一起的话呢，我们可以使用一个表示时间的一个从属连接词。
And so let's combine these together and make up this sentence. After I graduated from school, I moved to Taipei.
那我们因此而得到了这样的一个句子。我们说，在我毕业之后，我搬到台北。
Right, so now let's take a look at some pictures again. So we have picture 2, which is a map of going to from Tainan to Taipei.
好，我们再来看一些其他的图片哦。我们首先先来看一下刚刚的图片2，就是从台南搬到台北这张图片。
Right, let's take a look at our next picture, and we see here this is like a building, and there's so many different companies in this building.
好， 好，我们看一下下一张图片哦。这个是一个大楼里面哦，有很多公司名称哦，这列出来在这大楼1楼的地方。
And so we can write a sentence like, "It's easy to find a job there."
那根据这张图片，我们可以造一个句子说在这个地方找到工作是比较容易的。
And so if we combine these two sentences together, we can show that there's the reason she moved to Taipei is because it's easy to find a job there. So this is our sentence. I moved to Taipei because it is easy to find a job there.
好，我们把这两个句子合并在一起呢，我们会发现在这里比较容易找到工作是他搬到台北来的原因，所以我们因此而造出了这样子的一个句子。
Let's take a look at our next picture. We have a person in an office, and so it looks like a nice office. So let's say, I have a good job.
好，我们看到这张图片呢，这看起来是一个蛮整洁且蛮漂亮的一个办公室哦，所以我们说这可能是因为我有个好工作。
All right, and in our next picture, wow, she does not look happy, does she?
No, she's not.
All right, so we can say, I am not happy.
好，那我们下一个图片看到这位女士呢，她看起来并不开心哦，所以我们可以造一个句子说我不开心。
And so these two pictures, there's a contrast.
好，这两个句子我们可以看出来是一个对比的状况。
So this is our sentence that's showing contrast. Although I have a good job, I am not happy.
好，那我们就加入了表示对比的从属连接词，我们得到这样一个句子我们说，虽然我有一个好工作，但是我并不开心。
All right, and in our next picture, we see the sad person again, so she is not happy.
好，我们在这个图片又看到刚刚的图片她并不开心。
And in our next picture, we see lots of friends.
我们在下一张图片里面呢，我们看到她很多的朋友
And so we can say, all my friends are in Tainan.
好，我们从这个图片里面，我们可以造一个句子说我的朋友都在台南。
And so when we combine these two sentences together, we have, although I have a good job, I'm not happy since all my friends are in Tainan.
好，我们把这两个句子连接在一起呢，我们会得到这样子的一个句子说虽然我有个好的工作，我并不开心，因为我的朋友都在台南。
All right, let's take a look at our next picture. We see that she's looking for a new job, so let's write, I want to find a new job.
好，我们看到这张图片呢，她正在网络上面搜寻这个人力资源网所以我们可以造一个句子说我想要找一个新工作。
All right, and in our next picture, it's see an arrow going from Taipei to Tainan, so let's write, I will move back to southern Taiwan.
好，我们看到这张图片，这一次这个箭头是从台北回到台南所以我们说造的一个句子是我想要搬回台南。
If we combine these together, we get this sentence, if I find a new job, I will move back to southern Taiwan.
好，那我们把这两个句子连接在一起，我们可以得到这样的句子。我们说，如果我找到新工作的话，我可能会搬回台南。
And if we put all these sentences together, we can end up with this little essay.
好，如果我们把这些句子都连接在一起呢，我们就可以得到以下的这个段落。
Okay, I think it was a mistake for me to move to Taipei. After I graduated from school, I moved to Taipei. I moved to Taipei because it was easy to find a job there. Although I have a good job, I'm not happy since all my friends are in Tainan. If I find a new job, I'll move back to southern Taiwan. I'm sure that I will be much happier there. Okay, thanks for joining us this week for English Composition, and we'll be back with you again in another week.
好，谢谢各位同学今天的参与，我们下周再见。